Alright, I've done some more work to this amp. I've been tweaking it relentlessly pretty much every weekend. I figured out why the octal tubes were always quieter than the EL84, which made no sense. It turns out the bias caps, the cathode bypass caps over the octal side of the power amp had blown up. And they were acting as resistors. I have no idea how I didn't notice, because they were fairly gone. The EL84's cathode bypass cap actually had also exploded, but was still working and wasn't impeding its performance, which I don't understand at all. I don't have a capacitor checker, but yeah, it was very strange. Turns out the power amp, which was from the power amp I didn't build 100%. The power amp was built by someone else who originally put this amp together for me. I completely changed everything. The preamp, power amp, I've kept relatively the same. However, the old bypass caps that were put in were wired in both backwards, and they were only 100 volt caps. I've since put in some, they're like 50. They're around 50 microfarads. I don't remember exactly what they are, but they're 50 microfarads and they're 300 volt caps that are in there right now, so they should be fine. The amp is running a lot quieter and a lot louder now. Now I can use the EL34s for like full volume, and using the one EL34 is like the same. It's like the same loudness as using the 6v6 and the EL84 in parallel. Using the EL84 in parallel with the EL34 leads to some weird capacitance issue where lose a lot of high end. But once you crank the master volume up and the EL84 starts to distort sound, it sounds fantastic. I'm not going to do that right now because it's like almost 3 a.m. But I am going to run through some of the new features of the amp. So if you can see right now, I'm not plugged in to the front, plugged in through the back. Like I had before, there's a second channel through the back. However, what I decided to do was the extra trial that I was originally using for the second channel is now part of a cathode follower for the effects loop circuit. I was noticing when I used effects pedals, I lost a ton of grit and I lost a ton of power behind the sound versus when I wasn't using the effects loop. Turns out I was losing some impedance or whatever due to the fact that I was just using the effects loop pretty much passively. So I converted that into cathode follower, and I have the setup kind of like a JCM 800 right now, where the rear input acts as the low input on the JCM 800, and it just bypasses the first stage completely. It actually sounds pretty good right now. I have it set up at the moment, kind of voiced like Bassman-ish right now. I got the cathode bias for the technically the first stage now, bypassing the first. So second stage I have set up for about 1.2, 1.1-ish ohms with a 10 microfarad cap over it. The stage after it is an 820 ohm stage with no cap over it currently, but I can switch that in. And I have a 0.02 coupling cap right now. I could switch that up and make it a 0.0047, but right now it's at 0.02. We got no bypass cap over the 470 right now. We have only a 270 or 250 picofarad cap over the volume. And then I have the treble cap set at 250 with a 56K resistor. And let's see what else. Got a 100 picofarad over the second 470K. And let's give it a listen. Just some reverb in the loop. And I have an exotic EP booster up front, but no boost on right now. Just set to the, not bypass setting, but just the lowest possible. And here's what it sounds like. Gotta fix the pins on the EL34. It's a little loose, but incredibly clean, and you can make it even cleaner by backing off in the second gain stage. You don't lose almost all of your volume doing that, though. I like to keep it around right here, which is about 500 K, to simulate the resistor that would typically be there. You can crank it all the way, but sometimes it does some weird things depending on what cap you have selected. I don't fully understand why it does that. Yeah. When you have a cap selected, having it all the way up leads to some weird farty noises. But with no cap, it sounds fine. But if you just back it off slightly, you can use either of the caps without problem. There we go. So let's use a 500K cap over here, and let's pop in a 500K cap up front. Listen to what that sounds like. Very usable, clean tone. I think it sounds really nice. Very, very nice combination of Marshall and Fender sounds. Let me set it up kind of like a JMP here. I'm going to switch in. Third stage is bypass cap, which is a 0.47. It would be a 0.68 in a JMP, but we're going to pretend here. We're going to pretend this is the fat channel of a JMP, and I'm just going to go ahead and set it up. That kind of sound here. There we go. More gain. And some more gain. Oh, that's why it's buzzing. I forgot to put the noise suppressor pedal on. Let's go to that. And let's do the full-on humbucker sound. That's a really cool sound. Lacking a little bit of gain, but you know, it's really good for that 70s Marshall tone. And I think it's really cool as kind of like it's a secondary option to use if I don't want to use a ton of gain and I want something that's able to clean up. So let's say I'm playing some. Want some clean, all I have to do is switch the neck pickup. So yeah, incredibly usable. Let's swap to the main channel up front to tweak some settings because it's going to be a lot louder since it has an extra gain stage. Got a short cable here. Let me fix that real quick. Alright, so let's go ahead and start off with the slack. No, you know what? Let's start off with the stock JCM 800 tone here. Go ahead and set up all the switches so it'll be close to that as possible. Okay, and let's hear how this one sounds. Swap the bright cap, and actually I'm gonna go ahead and set this up to be like number 34 real quick. Let's see if I can remember. There we go. Alright, so this is gonna be kind of like the number 34 sound from the Use Your Illusion and all that whatnot. That's a really cool sound. I play with this quite a lot. Really good for that, like, generic 80s kind of tone. It does a good George Lynch. I want to mention that these are like at pretty quiet volumes too. I'm not playing loud. It sounds a lot better when you're playing loud, but I'm not doing that right now. Yep. Stupid pins. Yeah, but even though it's quiet, I think it sounds really good. Let's go ahead and try the Mod 5 specs here. Flip a couple of switches. It's my rough estimation of the Mod 5. I don't know if it's exact. But let's hear how this sounds. I'm just going to swap over to 250 and 56K because I actually think it sounds a little better for the Eddie Van Halen side. Tweak the settings a little bit now. So that's I use that quite a lot too. That's one of my favorite sounds. Again, probably not coming through the best on the camera microphone, but it does sound really close to that, you know, famous sound. You know, get all different errors of it just by playing with the tone slope there and playing with the EQ. And hell, I mean, if you want to go full on whatever the myth and legend say that he just cranked everything up, I can go ahead and just crank everything up. And Okay, let's see. Let's try a different setting. Call this the Mesa setting. Get a quite convincing, big chugga sound. Let's see. And let's give this one a listen. And sounds a bit better once I'm able to crank it up a little bit, get the tubes cooking. So here's a different little flavor of Mesa. This is a more like aggressive Mesa Boogie. Let's go ahead and flip the coupling cap, get more bass in. been saying that. Done some more work on it. Probably will be doing more work on it. I don't know. It's never going to stop. Probably end up making this thing into a push-pull eventually. I mean, really don't need to. It's incredibly loud. Like, incredibly so for something that's only a single watt amp. And you know what? I don't know. I don't think I'm ever going to have to buy another amp again. This thing's kind of like fitting all grounds. And if I need something louder, I can just run the preamp into a power amp, like the Carvin TS100 or whatever I have lying around. I haven't even played any of my other amps. I haven't played my amp simulators. I mean, I've just been playing this thing straight up. I don't know. It's awesome. Yeah. Eventually, I'm going to try to write up a schematic for this so people can build one. Hope you enjoyed it.